So hello again guys and welcome to the channel Deathmark TV for another Magic the Gathering related content. And for today's topic, since Brothers War is already out in the open, basically the full spoiler is set, and the upcoming pre-release that is supposedly for this weekend, but unfortunately here in our country in the Philippines we got some slight delays due to logistics issues. But anyway, let's not delve into that same old problem by the old guys from above, from the wizards of the coast, and we'll check on some new interesting deck builds with this new set. That is for the standard format. And for today, we'll have this deck that we call by Brawling Robin as Death and Copies. So basically, this is a mid-range sacrifice effect build that is probably based from some of the new cards, which we shall discuss in a bit. This is a user-submitted deck in MTG Goldfish, and as far as I remember, there are some other previous decks that I feature here that was created just before some of the spoilers was just out, and I saw also some of this build was also submitted from the site. So anyway, we shall check on the creature lineup. We have 24 creatures. For instants and sorcery, it's 8 and 5 respectively, and for lands, it's 24. So what you'll notice here, as we go around for the creature types, we have some new cards like Ashnod, Flesh Mechanist, Geeks, Yagmoth Praetor, Loran of the Third Path, and some of the spells, Union of the Third Path, and Diabolic Intent. So let us check again what the core, probably the core card strategy here that's involved the creatures. Let's check first with Ashnod, Flesh Mechanist. It is a 1/1/1 Human Artificer that has death touch, and whenever Ashnod attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you will create a tap Power Stone token. So if you remember, these are tokens that can basically be used to tap for colorless mana, but those mana can't be used for playing non-artifact spells. So with this ability also by Ashnod, you can pay 5 colorless or any other mana to exile a creature card from the graveyard and create a tap 3/3 colorless zombie artifact creature token. Now for these 4 copies of this, you might really wonder how the deck will work out by just only exiling or discarding those creatures and exiling them to become 3/3. But not only here, that as you go through this process, there are other cards in this deck that will synergize with what this graveyard feeling effect would do. So we have Elas Ilkor. So this is from Dominaria United. It's the 1 white and black 2/2 Parisian Core Cleric with Death Touch. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you will gain 1 life. Then whenever a creature you control dies, its opponent loses 1 life. So this process with Ashnod's effect, whenever you sacrifice a creature, Elas Ilkor's ability will trigger, and at the same time, having to create those creature tokens would also have this trigger of gaining 1 life whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control. So 4 copies of this, make sure those edict effects and sacrifice effects would go into having your opponents loses 1 life for each of those triggers. And then also have Geeks, your Praetor. We have discussed this before in another build. So this is ability that whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its control will pay 1 life, and then they will draw a card. And you have this ability for black, discard X cards, then exile top X cards to your target opponent's library, and you may play those lands and spells without paying their mana cost. So it's more of a win more situation in that sense. But the good thing is that you will have Geeks as your sort of a card draw. If ever you would get to curve out early and have these 2 drops and 3 drops deal combat damage to your opponents, and then just pay life in the process, since you would still gain life here, and the payment of those life would draw you cards for each of those payments. Now we also have Jaxis, the Troublemaker. We'll see its ability. It's a human warrior for 4 and a 2/3, pay 1 red and tap. Discard a card. You will create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and whenever the creature dies, you will draw a card. So sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step and activate only a sorcery. It's not really a drawback here that having it a sorcery, because having creature token of another target creature control would have it haste, and it dies draw a card. It's also a good effect, since if you notice some of the cards that is added here, these cards are having their ETB effects, such as the Lauren of the Third Path. If you notice, It is a vigilance creature within under the battlefield. Destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment, and you may tap your target opponent. Each draws a card. So if either you could get a token copy of this, and then then have a copy and the effect also of destroying one target artifact enchantment. Since the metagame today would be really relying more on artifact creatures, so her ability would not really be in vain because of having multiple copies to just destroy some random artifact enchantments from your opponents would really benefit you to get ahead of the advantage. So Jaxis and Lawrence also a good combo. Also added here is that Jaxis could also get a copy of Out the Sky. If you remember, you would still have your legendary creature rule. But the good news is that you'll be able to create a copy of this card. You will just only sacrifice the token copy for the legendary rule restriction and then have that dice trigger of that token. So either choose of the two, look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-permanent cards with total manual value 4 or less from among them to the battlefield, or put 2 +1 counters on each permanent you control as a creature or vehicle. So that's a pre-prompt in the process if you want to develop your board to be bigger, or you can get a gas from the top 7 cards of your library to put any number of those non-permanents with total mana value 4. So that's another combo here with Jaxis. So we make sure that we'll have this ability and have it only blitz for 2 and activate it for its ability. So discarding a card, also have another gas for Ashnod to create into a zombie token. Now for another combo here, if you notice, is the 4 copies of Ratadrabik of Orborg. This is a rare from Dominaria. It's a 2 generic cost, 1 white and 1 black. It's a 3/3 vigilance ward. For 2 other zombie you control have vigilance, and whenever another legendary control dies, you will create a token that's a copy of that creature, except that it is not legendary and it's a 2/2 black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. So you would really have to go with the setup of this. Let's say you will have Jixis online and also Ratabik on the board, and you'll activate Jax's ability to copy. For example, we have Lauren of Third Path. Then if you copy Lauren of Third Path and have it destroy a enchantment and also attack it for the turn, at the end of the turn, if you sacrifice it as a part of Jax's cost to have them sacrifice and draw a card, that trigger would also have Ratadabrak's ability to have a copy of that token by creating a token that is non-legendary and also a 2/2. So you would also get this effect of Lawrence's ability of ETB and also have a permanent non-legendary creature token of Lauren the Third Path. So basically that's a very good value card in that setup to make sure that all of your creatures would become very synergetic in a way that you have many combat tricks to do, such as having only with Ratadrabik, Jaxis, and also Asnod and Elias Ilkor to do some sacrifice triggers and enter the battlefield triggers. So aside from that, to make sure that we will have those combo going, we have 3 copies of Devil of Intent that has to be able to search for every for a card to put in your hand at the cost of having to sacrifice a creature. So the bonus here is that you can just create random tokens out of Jaxis and then sacrifice it to Devil of Intent to get either your Brick or AO or any other combo piece that you would need. So 3 copies of that, along with some other 2 copies of removal with soul transfer, which can also become a utility creature with returning a target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand, and some of the instants that has be able to do some spot removals and card draws. For example, we have a braid. We expect this card to be very relevant in metagame because of the more of the prevalence of these artifact creatures. So this Joyous pack would be really relevant. Then we also have the card from, this is a Reckoner's Bargain that is from Kamigawa in the Dynasty. You may sacrifice an artifact or creature, then if you do, you gain life equal to that sacrifice permanent mana value and draw 2 cards. So basically it's just a bonus card draw, and also if needed, you may sacrifice your OW or your any big creature or a copy of created by Jaxis the Troublemaker to gain life equal to that mana value and drawing 2 cards in the process. So 3 copies of those, and it will be also consistent with that is another 2 copy of a card draw. When draw a card, you gain life equal to the number of your cards in your hand. This is like it's a white card draw in a sense, but I'm not really sure why you would add only 2 copies of this with this benefit that gaining life, since you would more of the aggro path. So basically, you would need something that would benefit your combo, and maybe some anti effects or other adding more creature options that can be copied by Jaxis or any other legendary creatures that can be replaced by Rattlebrick's trigger ability. Now, lastly, for the lands, we have 24. There's the usual fixing mana, slow lands, Sounded Ridge, Started Sanctum, some Tramway Station, maybe for the if you are going to the budget. Then we have the Kenuma again, and some also Scoured Barrens for probably a budget deck build for this. So we sec on the CMC. We have 2.84. That's about basically rounded up for 3 CMC mana for the mana curve, and the color distribution is more on the black and white. We have the 26 and 20, and red as well as a splash for 8. But the color sources are basically able to accommodate this. And last are the tokens. Deck tokens, copy, and zombie token for Rattlebrick board. So I guess that's about it. This is like a deck that I will add probably soon to our MTG Arena playtest list of schedule. But for now, we would appreciate this idea of having Jaxis still a very relevant card in the metagame that can see that it's finally seeing its gameplay in standard. So at the least, we'd really have some interesting builds using some of these new cards, and relying not only to have those sacrifice and gain life effect like the Rakdos old school Rakdos sacrifice deck, and some of the clerics deck that are existing in the metagame. So I guess that's about it. Thank you for checking this video. Until for the next Brothers War standard deck tech update, here's Mac Ryan again for Deathmark TV. Until the next time, and see ya.